Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Let me ask both of you. The president's message, we hear from his advisors, is going to be one of unity, bipartisanship. Is this a president, Angela, than you, Kevin, that can deliver such a message credibly?
No, I don't think so. I think my understanding is he's also going to start by speaking to the Democrats directly about stopping this movement of resistance, not understanding that the movement of resistance is not about him directly, but it's against the policies that he continues to promote that seem to be divisive and run contrary to the very thing that he's going to try to tout. So from a hypocrisy standpoint, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him to deliver on that message.
Kevin, how could he pull it off?
Well, there's a couple of issues that they do see, eye to eye on. Criminal justice reform is one of them. Infrastructure, potentially. I think he's going to tout his economy. I think he's going to say that we need to do more to create jobs and bring up wages. But the well has been poisoned here on both sides, and there's just not a lot of comedy here, despite them wanting to make this a bipartisan speech. Every time he does one of these speeches, he then goes in and kind of steps on his own message by then ending up tweeting about it a day later. So I think it's interesting that we'll see what this the new members of the House are going to do, especially the members of the House and Senate that will be in that body for the first time in front of this president. Will they react to him? Will they speak up in any way and create any moments? And will the president turn around to Nancy Pelosi and do anything that creates a moment there as well?
Listen, this moment, if it is a moment, it's going to be tested immediately, right? Because you got, 10 days before another potential shutdown. You still have this decision over money for the border wall. I want to ask you, I had a Democratic senator on, Bob Casey, earlier, and I asked the question, what would you be willing to give as a Democratic supporter to grant the president money for a border, a barrier, whatever you want to call it, on the border in exchange? Would you be looking for permanent protection for dreamers? In other words, are Democrats willing to negotiate in the old-fashioned Washington way of trading horses here and give the president some money for the barrier to get something in return?
I don't see how history could be kind to anyone willing to compromise on something that has already been branded by Nancy Pelosi as an immoral wall. It's a non-starter.
But is it really immoral? I mean, there are barriers on the border
I think
already.
The issue, Jim, is it's the way in which it's been discussed, right? When you go back to the president's announcement of his running for president, he said that Mexicans were drug dealers and rapists. He's made it very clear that this is about human beings that are dark and terrible. It's never been about just border security. And so I think the challenge is, yes, there was a comprehensive immigration reform bill that passed the Senate. There were discussions about trying to figure out how to strengthen our immigration systems. But again, when you have someone like Donald Trump going on Twitter saying, this is the crisis, we're sending troops to the border, and then George Conway tweets this morning, every single moment where, in history where the numbers of people apprehended at the border, and they're going down. So it flies in the face of reason as to why this is his national emergency when there are so many others.
Kevin, the president to get over that, I mean, you're hearing right there what is the issue, and that is true. A lot of Democrats are publicly very much, they put their foot down, say not a dollar for the border wall, though other Democrats would disagree. But the issue becomes then, can Democrats trust this president to deliver something in return? The president said that before and hasn't followed through. In fact, he's reneged on some agreements.
The question is whether or not they would even work with him if he offered something big. And there are voices in the Republican Party that have said he should go big and he should offer not just DACA but other things to a path towards legalization. He'd be the only Republican president who could do that, and he would get a lot of heat from his base. But he's the only person that could do it. Nixon to China. So there is a possibility of going big. Whether or not Democrats would play with him on anything, though, is an open question right now. I can't imagine. I don't know if they'll stand up once tonight and applaud anything he says. And in terms of getting a big deal on immigration, they should take it if he offers it, but I don't know that they will.
On the issue of the national emergency, you have said it's the easiest of his bad options, but still a bad idea. And a rare phenomenon here, you have a lot of Republicans, even some of the president's closest supporters, John Cornyn of Texas, saying this is a constitutional issue. We will not support this. I mean, this sets up an issue, because if Democrats aren't going to give money on the wall, the president fears, outrage from his base. And if he can't get the national emergency, where do we end up? I mean, do we end up in another shutdown?
The Senate Republican caucus is starting to split on this, though. Senator Kennedy came out today and said that he would actually support the emergency declaration.
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham as well. So there's not agreement right now. I think Mitch McConnell, if there's a way out of this, Mitch McConnell's going to be the guy that figures this out.
He's expressed real hesitancy.
And there's good reason to. I mean, this sets up a very bad precedent going forward. But look, this is, 58 emergency declarations have been made for all sorts of things over the last 30 years. So you could,
I hear you. Well, although to get money, significant amounts of money for a legislative priority, that's a different category. Angela, is there something you could hear from the president tonight that I don't expect you to change your mind on this presidency or this presidency or this administration, but is there something that would surprise you on the positive side if you heard an offer from this president tonight that would make a difference for you?
I think the only offer that he can make is an apology for all of the people who he has made to be, who he's demonized along the road to, and take cheap shots at to get support from people who are scared and are worried about their long-term viability in this country. I think that is the only thing he could do, and that would require him to probably delete his account, as Hillary requested he do in 2016, and also request him to have a complete about-face and really start to govern and be a true commander-in-chief, and I just don't believe that that's possible.
High bar.
Yeah,
Kevin,
sorry.
Angela, thank you as always. I know you're going to be watching closely tonight, as we will.